Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to learn how we can create an interactive Power BI report to track different activities under different products like SharePoint, Power Apps, Microsoft Flow, OneDrive, and many more. So this is an example of Power BI that we will be trying to create today. As you can see here in this report, I'm seeing all of the different activities by different users, how many unique operations, and the different product that I have in my M365. I can quickly filter for a particular product like SharePoint, and under SharePoint I can see how people are accessing the file. What is that file? If I go to Power Apps, I can quickly see how many Power Apps has been updated, how many Power Apps has been accessed or created or published. If I go to the Flow, how many Flow has been edited or created. Not only that, from this Power Apps screen, I can quickly open the Power App directly from the report. So I can see which Power App either people are accessing more or updating. So if you are interested, stay tuned. I'll teach you and I'll show you how you can create something like this. Hey, I'm Deepak Shrivastava. Welcome back to my channel. So the first thing that you might be thinking that why we are creating a report like this. So the one reason for this, that this report is going to give you very detailed information of different activities that users are doing across different products. So you don't need to jump between the different places to find the information. So for example, the SharePoint Power Platform, all of that report or information is coming together. Generally, if you look at the SharePoint, you can see some of this information already, but this report is going to give you more details. Similarly, if you go to the Power Apps, Power Automate, all of the information that you are getting here is more detailed and granular. So if you are really looking for the report that will give you more insight, this report will definitely going to help you. Okay, so the first question that came into the mind, that what is the data source for this Power BI report? From where we can get this information so that we can create a report like this. So the data for the report like this is coming from your M365 admin center. Hold on, don't worry. If you are not an M365 admin and you are thinking that, oh, because I'm not an admin, I can't really create this report. That's not true. Let me show you how you can even achieve that. So if you are an Office 365 admin, then you can go to the admin center, go to the compliance, and under compliance, there is something called audit. If you go to the audit, this is the place where you can actually run the different reports by selecting different products. Those are licensed under this M365. And from this audit screen, you can select a date range. You can select the activities that you wanted to include in this report. And you can also include some more detail like folder and site. Once you do that, you will search. The admin center will run the report, collect all the information, and give you the file like this. It's a CSV file. And you can get up to 90 days of report. So for example, if I change this date to go back to here, as you can see here. Okay, so this is for the admin. Now, what about if you are not the admin and if you don't have access to come to this report? What you can do then, you can request your admin to run the report and give you the CSV download. Okay, so this is an Excel or CSV file that they can download and give it to you. And they can also restrict the product that you are looking for. They can restrict to the SharePoint, Power Apps, or maybe a particular site as well if you want to using the site URL. What this is going to do, this will allow you to have the CSV file with you that you can use to run the report. So you can set up the process where admin can monthly or weekly send you this latest file. You can use it and replace the old file, and your Power BI report will reflect the changes. Okay, so let's assume that you figured that out. Either you are admin, or if you are not admin, you are getting the CSV file export periodically. Okay, that part is good. Let me show you how this file looks like once it's downloaded. Okay, so once you export and download that file, this is how the file looks like. It has a record ID, date, record type, and then you have the operation. This is what I was talking about. File accessed, Power Apps open, created. You will have the user ID, and then you have this big JSON. It's calling audit data. This has all the other detail that you may need to create the report. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so the first thing that we need to understand how we can consume this report in Power BI. Okay, and the second one, how we can make this report dynamically connected to this particular CSV file. So the next time when you get the new export, you don't need to change anything in the Power BI report. Good. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to go to the SharePoint. Okay. So you can choose SharePoint or maybe OneDrive. Okay. I'm going to select the SharePoint, where I'm going to keep that file with a unique name, and I'm going to connect my Power BI report to that CSV file. Okay. So this is my SharePoint site, and I have created a simple document library, nothing fancy going on here. Just a simple document library in SharePoint where I have access on. Okay, and I uploaded this particular file. If you notice, I renamed the file and calling it auditlog_latest.csv. And the reason I'm renaming it, so that when I re-upload a new file or new export, I'll keep the same name, so I don't need to make any changes to my Power BI report. If I open this report, you will see the same data that we had before. Awesome, correct? So this is the number one thing that you should be following to create a document library and uploading the export that you are getting, or you are exporting yourself from the Compliance Center. Okay, now we need to create the report itself. So for that, I'm going to open my Power BI desktop and connect to this particular document library. Okay, so I am in my Power BI desktop. The first thing that I want to do is get data from SharePoint. Okay, so I'm going to click on the more. Okay, and I search for SharePoint. What we're going to select is SharePoint folder. Click connect. And while this is opening, you need to get the URL of this particular site where you have that document library created for the report. Okay, I'll click OK. Okay, it may ask you to log in. If it does, provide your login for the SharePoint that you use, and it should open something like this. Now, if you notice this, there's just a few files coming from that SharePoint site that I provided. It does not include the file that we have just uploaded. So what you need to do, you need to click on the transform data. Okay, once you click on the transform data, this is going to list every file that you have in your SharePoint site that you have just provided. What you need to do, you need to look for the file that we have just uploaded. Okay, so the easiest way for me to find the report, I'm going to just do the date modified descending, so it will just put my newest file on the top. You can also do the filtering on the file name and other things. Here you go, right? This was our file, auditlog_latest.csv. This is our file that has all the data that we are going to use in our Power BI report. Once you do that, click on the binary. So it's going to expand the data, and you will see all those different columns that we have in the CSV listed as the data in the Power BI report. Awesome, right? So we have the record ID, creation date, type, operations, user ID, and then this big JSON string. Now, if I use this as it is, it's no means, because it's not going to help me extract all the information from this JSON. So here is the trick, how you can convert this to the column. So what you need to do, you need to do a right click on this column. So right mouse click, okay, then transform to JSON. So what we are saying, because the information that you are seeing in this column is a JSON format, it's just not formatted. So what I'm saying, transform this to the JSON, the step 1. Okay, and then once it does the transform, it will show you as a record. Then you see this small expand button here, click there. It's going to load all the columns that small JSON head, and you can see all those different columns available here. You can also click on load more, and this will list down everything that is available. I'm going to select everything for now, but my recommendation is when you're creating the report, select only the columns that you think you are going to use in your report. This will make the report load time a little bit faster. Okay, so as you can see here, now I have expanded all the columns here. Now there is one column that if you are trying to create this report for Power Apps, it's very important for you. There is a column called additional info. Okay, and let me find that column so I can show you why that column is important for Power Apps. Okay, so this is the column audit data.additional info, and I've said that it is very important for if you are using this for the Power Platform report, because what this is going to give you is going to give you the environment name. And if you are working with Power Platform, you know that environment ID or environment name is very important. So this has this two information here, and if you look at this information, again this is a JSON, as you can see here. Again, it's showing as a string, so you need to format it to valid JSON like we did previously. So what I'm going to do here, you need to do the same thing, right click, transform to JSON. Okay, and then we're gonna expand the information, and you should see the environment column listed here. Here you go, click OK. So what we just did, we extracted the environment name information from this column. Now you see, you notice that there is a lot of error. These errors just saying because we have transformed it to the JSON, but not every column or every row has that environment name, because not every product assigned with an environment. So for those, it's throwing an error. So what we can do, we can ignore the error. Okay, so for the errors, what you need to do, right click and replace errors. Okay, do not remove, because if you remove, it's going to remove lots of data as well. So replace error with blank. Click OK. Perfect, right? So wherever you have the Power Platform, you will see the environment name. Like for example, this one is a Power App, and I can see the default environment, and I can also see the app name here. So this is my app ID and my environment ID. Now if I have these two, you know I can create the URL for my app. Okay, that's it. Once you're done with all of this, you're going to click on close and apply. Perfect, right? So our data has been transformed. It has been loaded as well. As I said at the beginning, you don't need all of these columns. So please select only the column that you need. Now I'm going to put some graphs, but before I do that, I need to show you one more important trick to create the link. Okay, so let me insert a table here. Okay, and in the table, I'm going to select the creation date, operation, record type, workload. So workload is the product, SharePoint or other things, right? And I'm also going to select the user ID. So this will give me the user email for the user who is trying to do that operation. Okay, and then I'm going to change this creation date to the date. So I don't need to break it into different month, day, and year. Okay. The next, I'm going to drop another, and you can select the type of chart that you want to use. And this matrix is going to be the workload. So that is the product, SharePoint, Power App, and then operations. Okay, so instead of matrix, I'm going to use the tree map. I think that is the better chart for this one. So my group is going to be the workload, and my value is going to be the operation. So I'm going to drag the operation here. Okay, so now you can see the different products. So most of the operations are happening in Exchange, that is the Outlook, then SharePoint, then AD, and then Flow, then Power Apps, and you can see a lot of them, right? I'm going to resize it a little bit. Okay, now one thing that I was planning to show you. Okay, so if I select the SharePoint, right, as you can see here, it is giving me all the different information of the operations, but it is not giving me the URL that I want. So there is another column here, and how I know information about all of these columns, I actually transform the data like you were seeing there when we expanded into the Power BI, and then I look at the information. So I did that work, that which column had the right information. You can do it yourself as well. So here there's another column called object ID, this one, right? So I'm going to select this column here. Okay, now if you see here, this object ID is actually giving me the URL for SharePoint, right? But if I select the Power App here, it is just giving me the app name, right? Or you can say a ID. I don't want that. What I want though, I want to create a link for my Power BI. So for that, what we need to do, we are going to create a new column with a simple formula so that we can create a link to our Power App. Same apply to the other product as well. So I'm going to the query, right click, new column. Okay, I'm going to change the name. So this is my link column, right? And what I'm going to do, I'm going to say if the workload, that means the product is Power App, then I'm going to create my Power App URL. And how I'm going to create that, let me quickly show you a sample Power App here. I'm only showing it this for Power App, but you should be applying the same logic to create the direct link URL for other product like Power Automate and any other if you don't getting the URL directly. Okay, so to keep this thing simple, if you look at the URL here, this part is always going to be like this for Power App, apps.powerapps.com, play, and this. And the next, what you have the environment ID, then you have A, and then you have your app ID. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to create this URL in Power BI. This is an example, so you need to make sure that when you are creating, you are making sure the URL, the whichever part that is more generic, you just hard code it, and the rest you can just dynamically pick from that report that will have that information. Okay, so in going back to the Power BI, the first thing that I'm going to check a quick formula if, and what we are saying, audit data dot workload. Okay, so audit data dot workload equals to Power Apps. Okay, so if this is true, then we are going to combine these different URLs. So the first one is the initial part of this URL. So I'm going to copy this entire thing from here. Okay, so this is my string 1. Now, if you remember, this function is only can take 2 string. Okay, so if you in our case, we are actually trying to combine multiple strings. So I'm going to use the same function multiple times as a nested. So I'm going to do again the same function. Okay, now here what I need to pass the environment name. If you remember the URL, the second information is the environment name, then A, then app ID. Okay, so the environment name, the name that I'm getting into that, you remember we did this additional info and extended the environment name. So yes, you have the environment name. Here you go, right? This particular column. So this will give me the environment name. Of course, because we can only have 2, now we have almost 2 more string to combine. So I'm going to use again the same function. And don't worry, I'm going to paste this function into the description so you can easily copy. Then I'm going to do this A. If you remember, there is an A as well. And the last information, that is the app name. So for that, I'm going to use the object ID. Okay, so this is the formula. Okay, click here, so it will create the column that we need. Okay, and I will come back here to this table, and instead of using the object ID, I'm going to use the link. Okay, now if I click on the Power App, you should see the link created. There you go, right? So now you have the direct link to your Power App. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add more different chart here to make the report looks like it has lots of information. As I said at the beginning, you can select the the type of chart that make more sense to your need. Okay, so this is my final report after I added the different chart option, and I'm going to quickly walk it through. So I added these different small KPI, these, okay, the card, and like this one is showing me the total user. So this is nothing but the user ID, and if you look at this information, total user. The unique operations, again, I selected the operation and then unique operations from the drop down. Similarly, other pie chart and other detail. And on the very top, I added the slicer from here and then use the workload, so you can have all the different operations on the top. Very basic Power BI report. Okay. Once everything is done, what you can do, you can publish this report to the powerbi.com so that it can be available. And then once it's published, you should be able to access that report from your powerbi.com. And from here, of course, you can take this report, embed it to the SharePoint or embed it to somewhere else where you want to use it. So that part is done. Now you have a fully interactive report. Everything is looking good. Now what about the refreshing it, right? So it's not about the refreshing from the powerbi.com. It's about when you get the new file, because this is not direct query, right? So you're going to receive that new CSV weekly, monthly, or whenever you exported it, but you wanted to make sure that when you upload the new file, this reflect. So let me quickly show you. So this was the report, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to try to upload another file. So let's say I receive another file, I rename it. So I'm going to keep the same name, but it has the last date, and you will see the reflection. You will see that change here. So I got my new report CSV from my admin, or if I am the admin, I downloaded it. I come here, I uploaded it. It's going to ask me to replace. I'm going to say yes, please replace it. So now I have my new file. Okay, so once you get this latest CSV file uploaded, what you need to do, you need to go back and refresh. And once you're going to refresh, it's going to actually get the latest file data and reflect it here. And you can see the query one, that was our report. And here you go. The data has changed based on the new file. From here, you can publish your report again, and that will be your new report available for your end user to see. Okay, so I publish. It is saying that file already exists. I'm going to replace that file. And now if I go back to the powerbi.com and if I refresh this file, it should be the new file that I just published. Here you go, right? So yeah, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing. Keep watching, keep learning. Thank you.